This chapter illustrates the number of frauds that have affected Canadian investors. It brings up the financial cost to Canadians, which I think is greater than all of the crime in all of the country, and illustrates how badly we fail at prosecuting fraud and financial abuse in Canada. With nearly zero prosecutions, chances of getting away with white-collar crime in Canada are better than any country in the world.
Bank of Canada governor said about the capital markets in Canada that they're equivalent to the wild, wild west.
This is about fraud and financial abuse. Fraud is systemic. It's built into the system. It's usually hidden by cunning, clever financial manipulators, including regulators who look the other way. Perhaps even politicians who look the other way at white-collar crime. Theft is a small-time crime by comparison, by salesmen who get caught and held up as an example to make Canadians think that they are protected. These people build the system to suit themselves, to serve themselves, as we have seen. They're able to steal hundreds of millions and even billions of our money. These are the fish we need to watch. These are the ones who never get caught. They are above the law. Now that we are all greased up and on a slippery slope in Canada, let's look at some of the damages done to Canadians by financial predators. The slippery slope leads to intentionally tainted advice for consumers. It leads to tainted products. Products like Eaton's, which was sold to the public and broke within a year. There are hundreds of ways in which the system is geared to allow financial fraud and financial abuse to be ignored in Canada. These are mostly abuses of trust, abuses of the duty of care that professionals owe to their clients. They're allowed in Canada because they bring in billions of dollars to those who operate the system. These are the crimes of the big hunters, the large predators who design and run the financial system in Canada. The system is made up of hundreds of thousands of people in Canada who operate on the inside, those who feed on the spoils of the investment industry. The little fish are the individual brokers who rip off a few clients. They do almost no damage whatsoever when compared to the big fish, the investment firms, and the self-regulators. Billions upon billions of dollars can be skimmed from Canadians using all of these methods. No one can touch them in Canada, even though they are clearly abusing the public, their clients, or their shareholders. They're simply above the law.
And you try and tell me that there's ethics in this business?
Look at Northern Telecom. Nortel executives used phony accounting to make magic profits appear in the company. They collected huge bonuses. John Roth walked away with $120 million in bonuses. There's a U.S. criminal investigation underway. The company's now bankrupt, but the bonus still went to the executives. CIBC executives tied executive bonuses to deals like Global Crossing and Enron. The deals were worth billions, the bonuses were worth millions, tens of millions, and the deals dissolved like castles in the sand. The executives walked away with tens of millions of dollars. Enron no longer exists. Global Crossing was broke within a year, but they managed to puff up the profits to collect their bonuses.
John Hunkin walked away, and he has lives on the East Coast, and he has walked away with $50 million plus. No criminal charges in the United States, no criminal charges in Canada, no reprimands, no consequences.
Nobody's complained. No, we're not aware of anybody that feels that they have lost any of their money, any of their investments.
I don't think they're even aware of it, Frank.
Well, okay, thanks for the answer.
The asset-backed commercial paper market collapsed in August 2007, leaving investors holding about $35 billion of frozen notes. The woman shown on this newspaper is Susan Wolberg Jenna, head of the investment dealer self-regulatory agency. Here is her signature on legal exemptions to allow firms to sell toxic investment paper to the public without notice to the public of what they were buying. The signature was done when she was vice chair of the Ontario Securities Commission. In this role, she earned approximately $400,000. It appears rather contradictory that for $400,000, she would allow investments to be sold without meeting our laws. Perhaps she has forgotten her role in approving these while at the Ontario Securities Commission.
Because of the power, their power, and their ability to commit millions of dollars to legal defense, that those who are sold products that are flawed in design, or those advisors who are rogue that cause losses by conducting unethical activities at the front end of the sales process, that there will be limited prospects for seniors and other customers of banks to get organized, to create the funding necessary to fight against a bank. There's a clear imbalance of power.
In China, estimates suggest that government corruption steals 3% of the economy, or $300 billion each year. Nortel alone was a $366 billion hit to shareholders. Does that mean that Canada is worse for corruption? Odds are 3 in 100 that a corrupt official will go to jail in China, making it a high-return, low-risk activity according to the Globe and Mail. When it comes to financial crimes, I and many others conclude that Canada is the world's best place to practice financial crime. In Canada, until the end of 2007, we had only prosecuted one man for financial fraud, while our securities regulators tell us there are 1 million frauds in Canada. 1 million to 1 against getting caught.
There should be consequences for Canadian executives who propagate crimes with international companies that international investors own. That's part of our duty as a country working in an international market.
We have a system in Canada that protects the criminals rather than the victims. We have a system in Canada that's paid for by those very same people. A relatively small number of white-collar tricksters do as much financial damage as each and every other crime in Canada combined. Every property crime, every robbery, every auto theft, mugging, murder, everything. The same damage, financially, is done by just our clever, powerful white-collar element.